I would like now to turn to another former colleague of mine, Mehdi Manaa. Mehdi is now the CEO of Buna. Buna is a cross-border payment system which has been created by the Arab Monetary Fund with the support of the Arab central banks. Buna is now recognized as one of these new infrastructure, which is in fact creating a new cross-border payment solution that are being called for by the G20 central banks. So maybe the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jean-Michel. I'm very happy to be with you today. Last year, the Central Bank Payment Conference was maybe the first one to invite Buna to show interest in Buna. And therefore, I'm very happy to be with you again this year, because this is giving me the opportunity also to measure our own progress over a year and to share with you what has happened meanwhile. That progress is for me difficult to qualify, because on one hand, on a daily basis, each and every day without a new participant going live in production is a source of frustration to the whole Buna team. But on the other hand, when we look backward to what has been achieved over a year, we can be very proud of the progress that we have made. So Buna is definitely moving ahead and extending its reachability at regional and cross-border level. Today, my presentation is a short one to share with you this update, and starting by that progress, precisely where we were last year during the Central Bank Payment Conference, and where we are today at this stage while I'm sharing this status with you, taking different aspects of the Buna construction. Just for the recollection, as you indicated, the Buna is a cross-border payment system that has been initiated as a project in 2017 as a decision of the Arab Council of Central Banks and Monetary Authority Governors. So that was not too far ago. It was just 4 years, and some progress has been made. Where were we last year on the different fronts? Starting by the establishment of the legal entity, the Arab Regional Payment and Clearing and Settlement Organization. Last year, we were quite advanced in terms of discussion with the authorities of the UAE, but the entity was not yet there. Today, Buna is fully established and its operator is fully established. The different elements leading to the full establishment of Buna are there, and these are composed of the article of establishment, the host country agreement, and the federal decree that has been issued earlier this year, making Buna and its operator fully in place and fully operational. On the platform side, last year, the platform was already there. Actually, the platform went live in February 2020, following the strategy that we have adopted in terms of deployment, which was consisting in 3 steps. The platform first, the currency second, and the participant third. Today, our platform is still hopefully fully up and running. But in addition to that, we have now the instant payment component that is ready. Why just ready and not an operation? It's simply because it looks like we are a little bit ahead of the market. And while on our side, the solution is fully in place and fully operational, we are intensifying the interaction with the banks these days to make sure that their preparation is well on track in terms of adoption of appropriate messages, in terms of changes to their core banking systems to be ready to make use of our instant payment solution. On the currency front, which was our second step of deployment, last year we had the Emirati dirham operational, but only the Emirati dirham. During the conference, if I recall correctly, I promised 4 to 5 additional currencies by the end of last year. Some of them joined a little bit later than that, but the promised 4 to 5 currencies are there. Today we have 6 currencies, and also the combination that we wanted to have of Arab and international currencies. So we still have the Emirati dirham, but in addition to that, the Egyptian pound, the Saudi riyal, and more recently the Jordanian dinar have joined. And as international currencies, we have the dollar and the euro that are also operational on the platform. On the participant side, and this is very key for the success of a platform like Buna, payment is an indice of network, and making sure that the network is broad is key for the success of such an initiative. Last year, 65 banks were in different stages of the onboarding to Buna. This year, we can proudly announce that we doubled that number. So more than 130 banks are in the onboarding process, and already more than 45 of them have signed the participation agreement. So this is indeed the key element that allow us to measure the fact that we are delivering and we are extending our reachability as planned. A very important dimension for a solution like Buna, which is aiming at cross-border positioning, is the dimension of partnerships, because we need to collaborate with others in order to be efficient on the cross-border level. We need to seek options for interoperability with other market infrastructure. We need to collaborate, as mentioned earlier, between private and public sectors. We need to be ambitious in terms of scope of services as well. Last year, we had our agreement with SWIFT for the provision of the network services. This year, we have much more. I'm mentioning just a few examples. So we're still in partnership with SWIFT. We even extended that partnership to the instant payment component. But we have also recently announced an MOU with Visa. More will follow, and we have also different discussions with Euroclear, for example, but not only limited to that. One more aspect that I would like to share with you today regarding Buna and its construction, because this is also a recurrent question on the legal basis of Buna, on the legal construction of Buna. And this is particularly interesting in a cross-border environment because most of the payment system operate at national level, or at least in a uniform regulatory environment, and very often they operate in a regulatory silo. That cannot be considered, or at least would not always be appropriate in a cross-border environment. And this is why for Buna we had to be creative and to think about the right approach that could be put in place to ensure the independence on one hand, because this is key. When we operate at cross-border level, we cannot be too tightly connected to specific jurisdictions, but on the other hand, we cannot be totally unregulated. And this is why it is important to find the right construction, the right mechanism that is allowing us to reconcile these two key objectives. What we opted for is the construction based on 3 levels, starting by the organization itself, so the Arab Regional Payment Clearing and Settlement Organization. As I indicated, it has been established as a supranational organization, which is not subject to any national regulation. It's governed by its own article of establishment. And this is, as I mentioned, is key in terms of ensuring the independence and in particular the inviolability of our data, and the payment data in particular, so they cannot be accessed by a regulator that do not have a stake in a particular transaction. The second level, and this is a key one, is the level of the payment system itself that is operated by the RPCSO. The payment system is Buna, and Buna is subject to the oversight of central banks. This is why I say that we need to cater for different needs subject to the oversight of central banks in a form of a committee, of oversight committee that will be composed of the central banks that have brought their currency in Buna or agreed to include their currency in Buna. All of them will be eligible. And all of them might participate to such oversight to make sure that Buna is fully compliant with key regulations or with key principles such as the PFMIs, of course, and in particular to ensure that Buna is being operated in a way that is avoiding risk or creating any threat for the financial stability for the different currencies that are included in Buna. This article of establishment, this oversight committee is being constructed these days, so it will soon be operational, while we are in parallel actually establishing the board of Buna itself. The third layer, and this is the area where Buna has been particularly innovative, is the layer of the payment transaction that are settled in the system. What we have decided in Buna is to go beyond the strict obligation of the payment system and to include in particular the sanction screening and AML CFT checks in the payment system itself, contrary to what is generally the practice for other payment infrastructure that operate in particular at national level. This is, in my view, very important in the construction of Buna because it was critical to bring an element of trust that is recognized by all actors, and it was not easy to decentralize that element of trust in an environment where we have diversities of currencies and a multiplicity of countries, not always in a one-to-one relationship in addition. So the way we have implemented these checks is in a way that is fully customized, fully comprehensive to make sure that the rules that apply to the different currencies are in place and are covered depending on the actors involved in a transaction and also the currency that that is used to process the payment. Finally, and another aspect that I would like to share with you today regarding Buna, its construction and its ambition. This is connected to the G20 roadmap, and in particular the element of interoperability, which is key again in the roadmap itself and for the construction of Buna. We have conceived Buna since the beginning as not just a regional platform to serve the regional market, but also a platform that will allow the region to better connect to the rest of the globe. And therefore, the element of interoperability was at the heart of the Buna construction. And we made sure that in our different choices in terms of functional, technical design, in terms of choices, we can implement in an easy way interoperability with other market infrastructure and payment networks. In terms of concrete achievements regarding this topic, we have recently announced two key news. The first one is an experiment consisting in interconnecting the TIPS, the Target Instant Payment solution on the European side with Buna in a form of proof of concept. We wanted to check what the existing platforms, the existing solution could achieve. And that proof of concept was pretty successful because first it was easy to implement. So the interconnection between the two took us just a few weeks to establish, with the support of Swift in terms of provision of network between the platforms and also from the platforms to their participant, and also in terms of speed achieved, because we have been able to process instant payment end-to-end from a bank in Europe to a bank in the Buna network, with the confirmation of that instant payment in less than 15 seconds, which is quite an achievement in the configuration that we were using, which was a simple test environment without that much capacity. And this is clearly very promising in terms of what could be achieved with the interconnection between the existing platforms, and in particular between the instant payment solutions. A more tangible announcement that we have shared with the market recently is our memorandum of understanding with Visa. So the ambition is very similar. It consists into interconnecting the two networks and making sure that any participant in the Visa network can send or receive payment from or to a participant in the Buna network. So this is not just an experiment. This is aiming at being a service enhancement that we hope to bring soon in production. And we are very motivated on both sides with our partners from Visa to make it happen quickly. We'll start with a pilot. So we are investigating currently which banks could be involved from which countries. So we are thinking about a corridor between possibly UK and UAE, but again, the doors will be open to others. Our focus is on banks participant in this context as well, and we will, as what we did for the Buna to TIPS arrangement, build on the use of standards, because this is key, in particular when it comes to making interoperability possible. The use on the TIPS and Buna side of a very close version of the ISO 20022 was certainly an important facilitator to make sure that this experiment will be successful. So here with Visa, we'll be building on that same dimension as well. Buna and the G20 roadmap is not limited to the interoperability dimension. Buna is first fully supportive of the roadmap, and vice versa. So I think that with the progress made on the roadmap level, we feel better supported and strongly supported by the G20 and by the central banks. So we have done the exercise of going through the 19 building blocks that are categorized under the 5 focus area. Buna actually meets all of them, or almost all of them. This is again an element of pride on our side, but an element of support that our vision was the right one, and this is increasing our motivation to continue progressing and increasing the reachability and the services that we deliver to our participant. So I hope that next year I will have the possibility to be with you again and to share further progress on Buna and hopefully additional positive achievement in terms of contributing to making cross-border settlement more efficient, to make it cheaper, to make it to make it quicker, more transparent, and also more accessible to the users. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Mehdi. It's fascinating to see how quickly Buna is moving, and already I have the idea that for next year conference, I think we should maybe go into deeper attention to the way Buna is connecting to to the rest of the world, not just the Arab countries, but to the rest of the world. I think this is very important. Given the time, which is limited, I would just ask you one question, Mehdi, and the others perhaps could be asked later on. What is in the pipeline? If we have the same discussion 1 year from now, let's say 12 months from now, so that what new will you present to us? What is in the pipeline?
Yeah, thank you very much, Jean-Michel. First of all, what we have in the pipeline is to continue. So increasing our network of banks. So I'm aiming at announcing much more banks operational in Buna. And then once the bank join, what will be our priority is to migrate the flows, because despite the presence of the banks in the Buna network today, some of the payment are still relying on the existing channel. So this will have to change little by little, and they expect to share a concrete achievement on that angle next year. The element of partnership and interoperability is key. So there as well, I expect to announce much more than the MOU with Visa, but probably will be in a situation where we'll be close to go live with that solution, but also with others as well. So we have a few of these initiatives in the pipeline with similar providers to Visa, but also with market infrastructure from other regions of the globe, some of them acting at regional level in Africa, for example. And a third dimension that we will be starting to explore is the extension of Buna to other services, or to support other type of services, such as security settlement or securities issuance. So on this aspect as well, we have few thoughts on the pipeline, and also some initiatives or partnership. I mentioned Euroclear in my presentation. We are in discussion with them indeed to extend the service of Buna to supporting securities issuance, at least in particular, if not also the secondary market.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mehdi. And we'll see you maybe next year to see the progress of Buna.